Rising tensions, a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. In recent weeks, the situation in Gaza has reached catastrophic levels, with staggering loss of life and immense suffering reported. The Gaza Health Ministry has provided a grim update, stating that at least 42,718 Palestinians have been killed and over 100,000 injured due to Israeli airstrikes since October 7, 2023. This ongoing conflict has created a humanitarian disaster, with reports detailing the dire conditions faced by civilians in the region. The impact of airstrikes. A recent Israeli airstrike near Hariri Hospital in Beirut has claimed the lives of at least 13 individuals, further highlighting the escalating violence. The chaos has left 57 others injured, with health officials continuously revising the numbers as the situation unfolds. In Gaza, the relentless bombardments have led to what Philippe Lazzarini, the Commissioner General of the UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, UNRWA, describes as a landscape filled with the smell of death. He notes that dead bodies are often left under rubble or on the streets, and humanitarian missions to recover these remains or provide aid have been systematically blocked. A cry for help. Lazzarini's statements underscore the urgency for immediate humanitarian assistance. He emphasizes the severe shortages of water, food, and medical care in northern Gaza, where people are living in constant fear. They feel deserted, hopeless, and alone, he stated, urging for a temporary truce to allow families to escape the violence safely. Diplomatic efforts amidst chaos. As the violence escalates, diplomatic efforts are also intensifying. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has made his 11th visit to the Middle East, attempting to revive stalled negotiations for a ceasefire and to facilitate humanitarian aid delivery to Gaza. The geopolitical complexities are profound, with air raid sirens sounding in Tel Aviv following attacks from Hezbollah, indicating the broader regional implications of the conflict. Iran's stance. Amidst these developments, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has spoken about the potential for escalated conflict, asserting that Iran is closely monitoring U.S. military bases in the region. He warned that any attack on Iranian nuclear facilities would provoke a strong response, framing Israel's actions as war crimes backed by Western nations, particularly the U.S. The situation in the West Bank. Simultaneously, the occupied West Bank is not immune to violence. Reports indicate that Israeli forces have detained at least 28 Palestinians, accompanied by widespread raids and assaults. Human rights organizations have voiced concerns over the treatment of detainees, alleging abusive practices and severe conditions in Israeli detention facilities. Conclusion. A call for humanity. The ongoing conflict has created a humanitarian crisis of unimaginable proportions, with countless lives disrupted and communities devastated. As international attention shifts to the suffering in Gaza, the call for an immediate ceasefire and humanitarian assistance grows louder. The world watches, hoping for a resolution that prioritizes human life and dignity in the face of such overwhelming adversity. This is a moment for reflection and action, one that challenges us all to advocate for peace and support humanitarian efforts. How can we contribute to raising awareness and fostering dialogue in our communities about these urgent issues? Escalating tensions, a humanitarian crisis in Lebanon and Gaza. As the conflict in the Middle East intensifies, recent developments highlight the dire humanitarian situation facing both Lebanon and Gaza. The Lebanese Red Cross reported injuries to 3 paramedics in an airstrike on southern Lebanon while they were conducting a rescue mission coordinated with United Nations peacekeepers. This incident underscores the dangers that humanitarian workers face in conflict zones, where even rescue operations can become targets. The impact on emergency services. In the southern city of Nabatea, the Lebanese Red Cross dispatched 4 ambulance teams in response to an airstrike. Tragically, the site was bombed again, resulting in injuries to the paramedics, who were promptly transported to a hospital for treatment. This attack not only endangers lives but also severely hampers the ability of emergency services to operate effectively in already precarious conditions. Evacuations and targeted strikes. Amid this turmoil, the Israeli army has called for evacuations in a southern Beirut suburb, claiming the area is a site for Hezbollah's operations. Israeli spokesperson Avichai Adri urged residents to move at least 500 meters away from specified buildings targeted for strikes, emphasizing the risks associated with remaining in the vicinity. diplomatic efforts, and high-level meetings. On the diplomatic front, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken in Jerusalem. Their discussions aim to facilitate an end to the ongoing war in Gaza, highlighting the complex interplay of military action and international diplomacy in the region. The U.S. continues to push for a resolution, but the path forward remains fraught with challenges. Hezbollah's response and captives. Hezbollah has acknowledged that some of its fighters have been captured by Israeli forces, asserting that Israel bears responsibility for their welfare. Mohammed Afif, a spokesperson for Hezbollah, called for the International Committee of the Red Cross to ensure the safety of these captives, reflecting the broader human rights concerns that arise amidst the conflict. Strikes near medical facilities. The situation has further complicated the humanitarian landscape. Israeli jets targeted a Hezbollah position near Rafik Hariri University Hospital in Beirut. Although the hospital itself was not directly hit, it sustained damage from the nearby strike, raising alarm about the safety of medical facilities in the region. Jihad Sadeh, the hospital director, confirmed that debris from the attack had damaged solar panels and windows, although there were no reported casualties among staff. Sadeh emphasized the critical nature of their operations, stating, "We won't evacuate the hospital, as it remains one of the few functioning medical facilities in the area." The implications of such attacks on healthcare systems during conflict can be devastating, often leaving communities without access to essential services. The economic toll of the conflict. As the war rages on, the economic repercussions for the Palestinian territories are dire. According to the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, the Palestinian economy has contracted significantly, with the territories now 35% smaller than before the conflict escalated. The socio-economic impact is profound, with poverty levels in Gaza nearing 100% and unemployment soaring to 80%. Chitos Noguchi, from the UNDP, highlighted that the state of Palestine is experiencing unprecedented setbacks, estimating that the region has been pushed back nearly 70 years in terms of development. The cost of rebuilding infrastructure is projected to reach $18.5 billion, nearly equivalent to the total annual economic output of the Palestinian territories in 2022. With 3.3 million Palestinians, including 2.3 million in Gaza, in need of urgent humanitarian assistance, the situation remains critical. Philippe Lazzarini, the Commissioner General of the UN Relief Agency for Palestinians, UNRWA, has described the toll of 3 weeks of non-stop Israeli bombardments on northern Gaza. He said his staff are reporting shortages of water, food, and medical care, with the smell of death everywhere across the territory because dead bodies are being left under rubble or lying on the roads. Missions to clear the bodies or provide humanitarian assistance are denied. In northern Gaza, people are just waiting to die. They feel deserted, hopeless, and alone. They live from 1 hour to the next, fearing death at every second, Lazzarini said in a post on X. He called for an immediate truce, even if just for a few hours, to enable Palestinian families to flee safely without being killed by Israeli bombardments. This is the bare minimum to save the lives of civilians who have nothing to do with this conflict, Lazzarini said. UNRWA provides education, health, and aid to millions of Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, the occupied West Bank, Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon, with the agency acting as the backbone of aid operations in Gaza since last October. Sweeping evacuation orders for the estimated 400,000 people still living in the northern third of the territory, the blockage of aid and food deliveries, and the targeting of civilian infrastructure have led to accusations that Israel is committing the war crime of seeking to forcibly displace the remaining population. The Lebanese Red Cross said 3 paramedics have been injured in an airstrike on South Lebanon while on a rescue mission coordinated with UN peacekeepers. 4 ambulance teams were dispatched to the southern city of Nabatea in coordination with UNIFIL after a strike there, the Lebanese Red Cross said, adding that the site was bombed again and 3 volunteers were injured and are being transported to hospital. Israel's army on Tuesday called on residents of a southern Beirut suburb to evacuate ahead of operations targeting what it claims to be Hezbollah's facilities in the area. For your safety and the safety of your family, you must evacuate these buildings and the surrounding ones immediately and move at least 500 yards away, the Army's Arabic-language spokesperson Avichai Adri wrote on X alongside a map showing 2 specific buildings to be targeted. Benjamin Netanyahu holds talks with Antony Blinken in Jerusalem. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu held talks with Antony Blinken in Jerusalem on Tuesday, after the U.S. Secretary of State arrived in the country to push for an end to the war in Gaza. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is currently meeting in his office in Jerusalem with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, the Israeli leader's office said in a statement. A Hezbollah spokesperson has acknowledged that some of the militant group's fighters were captured by the Israeli army without giving numbers, adding that Israel bears responsibility for their lives. On the issue of captives currently held by the enemy, I know that the enemy is not committed to the ethics of war and international conventions, but it bears the responsibility of preserving the lives of the captives, spokesperson